Never underestimate the power of spaghetti as a comfort food. All hail the gluten bomb.
All hail gluten. That feeling when your Uber driver is rocking out to Dave Matthews Band with the windows down in a 90-degree heat while you're stuck in the backseat sweating your balls off.
Sometimes I ask drivers to roll up the windows and turn on the AC, and they act like I'm about to rob them.
I locked myself in a room in my own house at 4 a.m. wearing a t-shirt and underwear because that's how awesome I am.
You are awesome. Have such a good day. Oh, hello, world. We didn't see you sitting there. Welcome to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that.
It's the show where we talk about life's cruel ironies and joyous
God,
moments.
are they cruel.
Everything we can but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, everything but the girl. Remember that band?
Oh, I loved that. By the way, I'm Heather Frank, and that's Sarah Lane over there.
Hi.
I was talking to somebody, it's kind of an old colleague of ours, Sarah, and she
Kind
didn't realize, well, like a pretty old, like from way back when, but she knew about our show, but like when she first listened to it, she didn't realize it was me. Because I think sometimes we don't say our names. So I'm just stating that here, who we are and why we do this crazy show. We like to unpack the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment. How y'all doing out there?
Yeah, what's going on? I know in my neck of the woods, it's hot as balls. So I feel for you, Heather, in your fun Uber ride that you took recently.
The guy had the craziest mullet too, which I haven't seen one that crazy in a long time, which made me feel hotter because it was like this shaggy hair, like going over his seat, like inching toward me, and he was already sweaty. And it was a long ride. It was like a ride from the east side to the west side. It was brutal. It was brutal, dude. But you gotta laugh because if you don't, you're gonna cry. I'm telling you.
You're really gonna shed some tears.
But Sarah, it's a palindrome episode 161.
It's episode 161.
Girlfriend.
We haven't had a palindrome episode since 151. Oh my God, math. It's funny. Right before we started recording, Heather was like, palindrome. And I was like, oh my gosh, it is. Yay. Because I was having a little bit of like not a horrible day, but
a Monday.
Just a little bit of a day. Yeah. Just some things that we're supposed to go one way, went the other way, as days tend to do. But the palindrome episode always cheers me up. So yay, good.
Yay, yeah. It's I don't know. It like peps us up for some reason. I don't know what it is, why it's so exciting, but yeah, maybe it's because math is so fun.
And palindromes are there's symmetry.
Just neat. Yeah, symmetry.
It just makes me feel like things are good.
Yeah, like on balance. Yeah.
Like eggs in a carton. Let's
right.
rearrange. Let's rearrange them so that they're not all askew. When you pick it up, you want it to feel the same on both sides.
Yeah,
if
there
at
are
all possible.
It's true. I remember you talking about that on the show like a long time ago. How you like to make sure they're not all weighted on one side. And I do notice when I take out like it can be a 6-pack or a 12-pack, and they're all on one side. It's like I almost drop it. It is kind of risky if you don't weigh it out, if you don't like balance it out.
It's just one of those things. It's always been, ever since I was, I don't know, old enough to like live in an apartment and buy my own eggs type thing. It's just something that means a lot to me, to the point where I very rarely will eat one egg at a time. Because then I've thrown the balance off. Even if I don't really want the two eggs.
Like you're not that hungry,
then,
but you'll just make two.
But I'm like, but then it's going to look weird. Like, and I just know it's weird in there.
Also, one egg is not very much. It's hard to scramble one egg. I mean, I get like a boiled egg or maybe a poached egg, but when you scramble one egg, it's like, why dirty a pan?
Oh, God. I hear that, sister.
But we digress.
I ate leftover spaghetti for breakfast this morning. No shame. Well, because I made it, you know how spaghetti is.
Yeah.
Or pasta in general. You always go, oh, this isn't that much. Then you boil it and you're like, oh my God, it's so much.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I made a big old batch for dinner last night. and just went to sleep like, the sweet gut bomb of
Fat.
spaghetti. Yeah, I'm just so tired now.
Let me
It was
add on
great.
to that first thing in the morning. I still think we need to, at some point in your life, I really picture a Sarah Lane cookbook, something funny, off the cuff, like your morning creations, like your kind of
The weirdness
very,
that is
yeah,
my
the
stomach.
weirdness
Yes.
that is your stomach. That's the name. We already came up with the title. There we go. We just need a publisher.
There was I think it was, gosh, was it in our Discord for Have Such a Good Day? I think it was.
Ooh.
It was that gif of me like
Oh
pounding some
yeah,
hot
it
sauce.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're not in our Discord, think of what you're missing. But yeah, this is like from a TV show, many many years ago when I
Deep
worked at G4,
archives.
and it was like somebody said, oh, if you shoot this hot sauce, like you're crazy or something. Like it was some dumb challenge, as as we are wont to do on shows like this. And I was like, I can do it. And everyone was kind of like, right at the end, they were like, no, no, Sarah, don't do it. No, you're gonna be so screwed up. Like your stomach is gonna be so screwed up. And I'm like, it really won't be. I eat a lot of hot sauce, you guys. We are good. And that's the end of that.
So, well, what happened when you shot it? Because I vaguely remember that day. I don't know where I was, but I knew you did that, and
I don't remember why that happened.
It was some
I
kind of
don't remember.
stunt. It was like an Attack of the Show.
It was some
stunt.
kind of
yeah. It was like
totally.
early stunt days.
And it's funny because I shared that with a couple other friends just because I'm like, oh, look at me back in the day, drinking hot sauce out of a shot glass, and I had friends who were like, oh my gosh, your stomach must have been so messed up afterwards. And it's like, my stomach really can handle pretty much anything.
So you were
I mean, there are
fine.
things that I don't enjoy eating. There are tastes that I don't like. I don't like to eat watermelon, but it's not going to make me sick. I just don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
No, I was fine. I was fine.
Interesting. So, but you wouldn't do that today. Like who would ever really shoot
Sure, I would.
hot sauce? Well, as
I
a
would.
dare though, you wouldn't do it just like because you want to shoot
I'm not going to do it for
hot sauce.
fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, that's sort of a waste of hot sauce,
Or
right?
you're, like,
I could
hungry.
have sprinkled it on on lots of things throughout the week
Uh-huh.
and used the same amount. But I mean, if someone, I guess maybe I like dares, Heather. If someone were to be like, could you still do it? I'd be like, yeah.
Oh,
I can do it.
I know what I'm going to do when I see you next.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an incentive because you all feel like Heather and I hang out all the time, but we haven't seen each other in person
have not.
in well over a year.
You can't even really tell how straight my teeth have gotten, Sarah. If you saw me in person, because actually when I was with my friends this last week, they were all like, whoa, because it is
Yeah.
different. It's like, yeah, sure, video, Zoom, it's one thing, but in person, you get the animated version of the person.
Oh, totally. I've known people over the years who, well, I mean, certainly as kids, I mean, many kids had braces, and myself included, but as adults, people who I didn't even necessarily be like, oh, their teeth are really messed up, but they got braces for their own reasons. And, as their teeth moved over time, afterwards, I'm like, wow, like you look dramatically different.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would never say like you didn't look good before
No.
because it's a personal decision.
Yeah.
It's not always even just cosmetic. Sometimes it's a bite thing or whatever.
It's like a face
yeah, it can
structure
really
thing.
change a face.
It's not even just like,
Yeah.
oh, your pearly whites, your smile is nicer or whatever, but it's like it changes the structure of your jaw, like of your smile, like the side of your face, your profile. Like it does a lot more than I ever imagined, before I did it. But anyways, so Sarah, I've been gone for a
Yes.
week. What has been going on with you?
Well, so I will refrain from complaining about the oppressive heat. Well, I'll complain very briefly. It has been very, very hot here. Actually, this morning I took Otis the dog out. It was pretty early actually because we go to this high school that's near me, and I call it the dog park, but it's a high school. And for a long time, because of COVID, like nobody was there, so it started to go back to nature a little bit, and all the dog people, we've sort of made it our big dog park. And the other day, I'm there. It's a weekday, probably around 8:30 in the morning type thing, kind of my usual. Okay, I'm out and about, maybe doing some errands before I have to settle in for work. And this guy comes up to me. It's so funny. He was holding a ukulele, and he goes, hey there. My name's so and so, whatever his name was. I'm kind of looking at him like, hi, what's up? And he says, hey, so I work at the school, and just so you know, class is back in session. And we can't have people running around with their dogs when class is in set, during the week when kids are here. So from 8 to 3, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We just have to ask that you don't come here anymore. Totally can come before that or afterwards, no problem. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't know where all the kids are. They never seem to have recess or anything, and it's a huge campus. I could stay out of your way, but this is your school, not mine. He worked at the school. He wasn't just some random guy. He just happened to be holding a ukulele, and it threw me off at first. But anyway, we were there pretty early this morning. And it was very, very foggy, and I didn't have my contacts in. My contacts have been bothering me lately, and so I'm more or less blind.
Yeah, don't you need them to drive?
Well, I had glasses on my head.
Okay, I see.
I don't like wearing because they're readers.
Yeah.
So if I'm moving around and moving my head around too much and I'm wearing my glasses, sometimes I get a little nauseous. Mm-hmm. I prefer not to wear my glasses unless I'm sort of if I'm in my car driving, I would wear them. Mm-hmm. But if I'm reading my something on my phone, whatever, they're never far away. But I wasn't wearing them at the time. So yeah, I'm walking around like, wow, it's so cold and nice here. Oh, the fog, it's so beautiful. Yeah, well, that was a few hours ago, and it's high 90s and very hot here once again. But Heather, I've got a story for you, and I'm not sure you're ready for this jelly. I really am not. Any of you out there? Just take a seat and listen to what I endured a few days ago, because it is stranger than fiction. The absurdity of life has never been more absurd than this story. I mean, it could be more absurd, but this is up there.
Sarah, I'm at the edge of my stool.
Oh, ew. That's kind of gross. So the other day, I'm at my mom's. My mom doesn't live that far away from me. And there are a variety of ways that I could go home from her house. And I usually go a certain way. And for whatever reason, I just went a different way. And it was a Friday afternoon, so a few days ago. And it was kind of, it's kind of trafficy or whatever, and it's hot. And I passed this convenience store that's, on a corner. And I've been in there before, but maybe twice in 3 years. I never really go in there. It just happens to be on the way. And I was thirsty, and I was like, vitamin water and maybe some chips, just snacky stuff. Mm-hmm. I'll stop in there. And I always, no matter whether I'm going grocery shopping or not, I always have a reusable bag with me in the car. Mm-hmm. I've got this vinyl bag that I use for everything. Mm-hmm. And, I had it. And I go in the store, and in the bag is a yerba mate, which is like a guayaki yerba mate.
Yeah.
We see a lot of them around here because the company is based in Sebastopol, which is very close to me. But if you're not familiar, it just looks like, I don't know, a Snapple. That's what it looks like. And it's in the bag because I bought one, and I just forgot it was in there, and it's just in my car still. So whatever. So I go into the store. The store is really busy. There are a bunch of people in there. And, I grab a vitamin water and some chips and I don't even know what else I got, some gum. It was Tic Tacs. And I go up to the register, and I'm waiting and because there are other people in front of me, and the woman behind the counter, who I don't know, again, because I don't go in there often enough to know who works there or doesn't. I've never seen her before. And she rings me up. And as she's and she's here's how much it costs, and I'm like, okay, I pay for it, with my ATM card, and she's kind of grabbing at my bag, the bag that I brought in with me, and at first I'm like, it's okay, it's all right, I'll put the items in there myself, and she kind of is relentless about it, and sort of being a little aggro about it, and so finally I'm like, okay, do it, and she pulls out the yerba mate and she says, you stole this, I saw you. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Are you kidding? Am I on candid camera? That feeling where you're like, what are you talking? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
she says,
you're
no,
looking
no.
around your shoulder.
No,
what?
you stole it, and I saw you, and I'm gonna ring you up for this.
Wow, she said
and
she saw you?
Yeah, she said, I saw you do it. Because I was like, no, I didn't. I came in here with this.
Wow.
And she's like, no, you did not. You
Wow.
stole it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, this is so weird. There are a bunch of people behind me. It's probably only like, what, $1.50 or something? Like, okay, just ring me up for it, I guess. Like, that feeling where you're like, I'm in a movie. This isn't
Oh,
real.
absolutely.
Whatever. I
All
just
the
want to get
time.
out of here. This is so strange. So I let her do it and I pay for it. And I just sort of like weirdly walk out into, where my car is in the parking lot outside. Otis is in the car, patiently waiting for me. It's very hot outside, so I don't want him to be out there for very long. And I get in my car and I sit in it for a second and I'm like, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I just walked into a store with something in my bag. She said that she saw me steal it, which there's just no way that's true.
Yeah.
You know? And I also like didn't like run in, like grab something and run out.
Yeah.
Like this will not stand. No way. Come on. Like I'm basically like gonna drive away and you're gonna think I'm a thief or something. Like what's going on? So I go back in there and at this point I'm kind of fired up because I've had a few minutes to like sit there in my own shock. And I go in and I'm like, I want to see the video of me stealing the yerba mate. And she's like, kind of trying to wave me away. Like, there's too many people in here. No, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. And I cut in front of these people who were like trying to buy beer or whatever. And I'm like, I am sorry. I know this isn't your problem, but this woman just lied and said she saw me steal the yerba mate, which I did not do.
How did they react?
The other customers?
Yeah.
The other customers were just sort of, like if I had been a few people back in line, I would have been like, I don't know what's going on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you just stay out of it.
Like,
kind of
like
thing.
hurry up,
Well, they don't know that I didn't steal it either.
Yeah,
like, they
that's
don't know
true.
me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, show me. And so she's like,
Your
she-
heart
and
must have
she-
been racing.
Oh my gosh, I was on fire. Like I was almost like ready to burst into flames because I went from like being like, what just happened to like really mad. Like no. You could say like you were sort of confused, but you said that you saw me steal something. So let's see it. Let's see it. So she kind of gets on the phone and there's a tiny bit of a language barrier going on. But for the most part, she's talking to someone who has access to like the video feed of the store. And there's cameras all over the store. I mean, convenience stores just have cameras, like I know they do because people do steal things. And, she's kind of talking. And, she's like, can you just stand over to the side? I have to like help other customers while I'm doing this, like acting like I'm really putting her out. And I'm like, nope, you're going to do this.
Like you're
right
taking
fucking
my
now.
time, like we're getting this resolved right now. I would have done the same
right
thing.
now. And it's not even like, oh, there's a price dispute. Like that would be one thing. But this was something very different. So finally, she looks at me and she's like, okay, they're looking at, can you come back in like 2 hours? And I'm like, no, I will not be doing that. I will be standing right here ruining your day until we figure this out. And so, talking on the phone, talking on the phone. And then finally she's sort of like, nodding, gets off the phone and she goes, okay, yeah, you're right. You didn't steal it. And kind of like, okay, we're good. And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm right. I didn't steal it. Like, how about like
I'm so sorry.
apology? Yeah, or, and I'm like, why did you say that you saw me? And she's kind of just like, I don't know. I thought you were someone else. And I'm like, no. You said that you saw me. Yeah, she just like at this point she's just like, I want you to go away and I'll say anything for you to just go away. And I'm like, why you need to refund me for the yerba mate that you charged me that was mine
God.
in my own bag? Like people can have things in bags,
Of
and if
course.
you're so worried about people stealing things, you need to check bags when people walk into stores.
And also like a yerba mate or any kind of drink like that, you can get anywhere. So it's like she just assumed. I mean, that's so presumptuous. Wow, she's really on edge.
It was almost comedy. I mean, it's comedy now because a couple days have passed, but I was pretty upset about it, as anybody would be, being in a situation like that. Not only being like, what did you say I just did? But also a bunch of other people just kind of like watching the situation unfold and been like, what is happening between these two women? So, I'm like, I want a refund. And she's like, okay, okay, okay. Got it. She gives me like my $1.50 or whatever.
But it was the
But before she
principle.
does, she's like, well, I need your card. So, I can give it back to you like on your card because you used your card. And I'm like, no, open your register and give me cash. That's what we're doing.
I love it.
Wow,
I wish I could have seen
$1.50. Yeah. So anyway, I got my money. I left. That's the end of that. And I mean, I almost hesitated to tell the story on the show because I'm like, it's not really funny, And I think that there are a lot of situations where people, well, first of all, people do steal things all the time. But there are situations where people, and perhaps people who don't look like me, are accused of exactly this.
Yep.
And
who
that's
may not fight back.
always, yeah, and it's not fair, and it's not, warranted or just.
Yep.
And I'm glad I stuck to my guns, but it was a pretty weird situation.
So
pretty
do you
weird
think-
situation. And maybe it was mistaken identity. Maybe I do look like somebody who they've had issues
Maybe.
with in the past.
Maybe.
And that's yeah, I mean, I was about to say it's fair. It's not fair, but maybe that is the case.
Yeah, you have like a doppelganger running around that's like a kleptomaniac.
Stealing yerba mate of all things, not a fifth of liquor, or anything that's actually of value, just like a tea,
Something that's like less than
basically
$2.
unsweetened iced tea. So I went home and I thought about it. I told a couple people the story and everyone's like, that's so great. Like, sorry, Sarah. Like, what a crazy story. And it's like, that's kind of all it is. There's not really much else I could do.
Well, but if
I thought
you-
about going back and trying to like talk to her. And I
Yeah.
thought, you know what? You're overthinking this. Just never go back to that store again because I don't go in
Exactly.
there anyway. And
Well,
that's the
yeah.
end of that.
And the thing is like if you would have, when you went to your car the first time, when you were kind of processing before you went back in full of rage, like you probably would have gone home and felt pretty crappy. You would have been like, I'm having the worst. Like that is like something that would happen on a Monday, I guess. And I'm glad you went
Well,
back in
and-
because
and-
you would have felt a lot worse if you didn't.
Well, not only not sticking up for myself,
Yeah.
but also that feeling of
principle.
like, yeah, it's, I don't know. I just would have felt like every time I drove by that corner, I'd just be like, ugh, what if they see my car and think like I'm that woman who stole the tea or,
Totally.
the whole thing was just a mess. And it was so hot. So afterwards, I'm like, I don't even want the stupid vitamin water that I bought at the stupid convenience store. I did eat the chips though.
Well, the thing is that people, like you said last episode, people do kind of lose their shit when it's super hot. Like people just do weird stuff. I know stuff happened when I was in LA this last week because there were a couple days that were pretty hot. I can't even remember all these things. I really should write more stuff down. But yeah, I'm really glad that you went in and stuck up for yourself. I like that it took you a minute though. You were like so stunned when it happened that you actually walked yourself out to the car and like sat down and then we're like, wait, no, I got to go back. I got to go deal with
Yeah, which is I think a lot of us, especially, I don't want to, say like especially women, but especially women, we sometimes there are these situations where you're like, wait a second. No.
Yeah.
And in this particular situation, I wasn't dealing with a man, so that's not what I'm saying, but just that feeling of me being like, oh, okay, there's a misunderstanding. I'm sorry. But then I'm like, well, wait, what am I sorry for?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
It's good you put her in her place. It's really, really good because then think about it. If she walked away thinking you really did, she would probably be much more accusatory to other people too, because it would prove that, her instincts are, whatever. She would have been more
I know.
confident.
Just one of them days.
It's like, don't
Heather.
even leave the
One
house.
of them
Why
days.
bother?
I know. Just stay under the covers, guys. It's easier that way.
Exactly. Yeah. So, well, it's funny because I got back yesterday. I spent the week in LA. I flew down there last Tuesday and I was like, I think I mentioned on the last show, my whole like thing was about feeling anxiety for leaving and what could happen, things that this energy that we as humans, the human condition put into, what could possibly happen and get worried about that stuff, those possibilities. I think it's just totally something we all do because I hear my friends, you know, worry about things that may or may not happen. And it's a waste of time, but we do it anyway. And it was a really good trip. It turned out to be this like, you realize you worried about things that didn't happen and it reinforced that theory. And, once I was like in the moment and I was there, I didn't even think about any of that stuff. Like I was in it. I was in it and I was happy to be there. And I think I was like worried I wouldn't be happy to be there or like because I was so pulled in two directions because I did leave a lot of stuff unfinished. And that might have been part of it, was leaving certain things in the lurch. And so I felt that, maybe this isn't a good time to go. But great trip, super awesome. Seriously, all the good feels. And I kind of got like exactly what I wanted out of it. Like I can be a little bit of a maximizer, as we all know. And so I was like, this is what I need out of this trip. These are the things that I want to do and want to accomplish. And I pretty much like tackled everything. The people that I wanted to see, the kind of, I guess the experiences that I wanted to have that I was lacking recently that I wanted to find down there. And I did a good job like finding those things. I was very much anti-Heather. I spent a lot of time with my friends and their kids, and I am really close to some of my friends' kids. And I spent, some really nice quality time with them. And I really felt like I was in it with them very much in the moment. Like I was really trying to, because sometimes it's easy to just be thinking about the next thing. Like, where am I going next? But I felt like really happy to be there in these moments. A friend of mine just got a new dog, a border collie named Petey, and just the cutest thing in the world. I was like fawning over him like the whole time. And yeah, it was just beautiful weather. And
Just get a dog, Heather.
I know,
Get a
I know.
dog.
It's
Be done with
complicated.
it.
It's complicated. But
I
she
know.
kind of got my dream dog. But like he's also, border collies are a lot of work, and there's a whole other like element to it that isn't great, but we won't talk about that. But there were a couple parties, went to a couple dinners. God, I mean, one thing, we talk about what really struck us when we go travel and we leave our houses, which is a good thing. But inflation, though, I mean, seriously, and I know I was only in LA a couple months ago, definitely prices have gone up, like very significantly. And it's funny because a New York Times article just popped up, I think today, about this exact thing with restaurants specifically. But I was really blown away. I mean, I spent a lot of more money than I would have liked because really, like, you would go to like just a middle of the road restaurant and you couldn't find a glass of wine for under $19. And where it was like maybe previously it was like 14 or 15, everything was spiked. And the thing is,
I mean, even $15 for a glass of wine,
is a
I'd be
lot.
like, well, this better be pretty good.
I totally agree. And like, obviously, we don't have to like beat a dead horse. We know we've been in a pandemic. We still are. There's a war going on. The fallout is never ending. And it's probably worse now than it was a year ago. I mean, you're now looking at cooking oil shortages. We still have a service worker problem, truck deliveries, gas and fertilizer costs. I mean, even growing the food that gets to the restaurants, trucking it over there, having enough people to drive these trucks. Even wine is getting stuck in customs. Even wineries are having trouble because there's water shortages in these areas where wine is grown. Utility bills. I mean, I'm even feeling the pinch right now with owning these properties. And then people have these really high expectations, and it's a whole thing. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. But I think it's a really interesting conversation that we can continue to have. But what I felt when I got
What
back,
did you want to talk about?
what I really want to talk about is that what I loved about this trip was that I went down there with kind of an intention. Like I said, I wanted to have a certain level of fun and I wanted to kind of curate my trip like I do, but I also wanted to spend some time with myself. I walked the canyons a lot and I had such great like mind space to sift through some of these bigger philosophical like quandaries, things that have been weighing on me kind of thing. And I really felt like I like sat in it, like I sat in them and kind of analyzed stuff. And I feel like I kind of came to terms with a lot of things. And one of those things, for an example, we don't have to get into all of them, but I kind of felt more than ever I was really looking forward to coming home. I was really happy to be there, but I was like happy to be visiting and happy to be living here. And it felt really good. It felt like a really good balance going down there to visit and then coming back here. And
rather than like convincing yourself you're doing the right thing, you just felt like you are doing the right thing.
Yeah, and just the ping-ponging that we do with like the pros and the cons and the apples and the oranges and the constant like discussion about it. It's like I feel like I'm now kind of embodying this new life as opposed to kind of straddling these two lives, and that like I'm feeling good with where I'm at in my life just in general. Knock on wood, and the coming months of like what I have mapped out for myself. And, I did have a couple meetings for production stuff. I'm kind of getting closer to potentially doing a little side project here and there. And I'm excited about that. And, just kind of got some interesting feedback from some people.
Irons in the fire.
Yeah, irons in the fire. Some interesting projects out there that I could definitely jump in on. Anyway, so it was just like really a very positive week. I mean, like I said, I did have a lot of fun. There was a lot of hilarity, so many delirious moments with my friends and their animals and their kids, and very, very good, happy times. I'd like to hear from you guys though. What has been going on in your life? Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com.
Absolutely.
Any philosophical quandaries you've cracked lately?
Yeah, you want to get something off your chest? Guess who your girls are? We're right here, and we're ready. We're ready to hear it all.
We're standing by.
And we won't spill your secrets.
We're not a hotline. We're not like a 24/7 hotline, but we're kind
I'm
of.
already a hotline for Airbnb, Heather. Don't do this to me. I can't be a hotline for anybody else.
Tell me about it. But I will say that I know we have to drill down on how to make your life easier in this whole Airbnb thing. But I did make Elijah a co-host, and that has really taken the pressure off. And so I've been thinking about that for you. Who could be a co-host to help you with all the correspondence and all the crap?
So a little context for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about. If you have an Airbnb property, and this is probably true for Verbo and others.
Actually, Verbo doesn't have a co-host, which really frustrates me, but that's another story.
Yeah. So for Airbnb, you can, if you're managing a calendar, but you want to give somebody else the rights to at least see what you're doing and, be able to jump in. We have that here. Doesn't stop the problems from happening. No. But sometimes I'll get feedback from my landlord, for example, who sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, you can see all of this,
Yeah,
like
totally.
Not that like you shouldn't know, but the whole idea is that, I'm shielding him from all the drama.
Sure.
And every so often he'll, respond to me and be like, you think we should tell them, X, Y, Z? And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, we're all in this together. Isn't that nice? Well, so speaking of Airbnb, it's been a while since I complained about it. And it will maintain a longer time because I don't want to complain about it. But I did have a somewhat dramatic. Well, I mean, I have dramatic meltdowns 100% all the time, Heather. Often in my sleep, really. I wake up from a dream. I'm like, that was a pretty strange meltdown I had in my subconscious. But no, so last week we had a new group that came in, and they actually, what's funny is that they were guests of previous guests. Like they came up for a day. They're familiar with the house, but they weren't actually people that booked it themselves before, but they had been here before. And while they had been here before, which is months ago, I don't know, April or May or something, there was a redwood tree branch that had fallen, and it fell kind of like behind, like in an area that nobody would walk anyway. But I guess people were outside and saw it, and they were like, ooh, gosh, that seemed kind of dramatic. Like, do you think more redwood branches would fall? Because we've got little kids, who are walking around under the trees. And I was like, I mean, I have no idea. If you're worried about it, I mean, I would suggest, because this is what I would also do for myself, is just not stand under there, especially if it's windy, because you just can't. I mean, even like with the most tree trimming ever, you can't always predict what's going to happen. So anyway, so these people had, they had observed that. So they get here last week, and I mean, they pull up, not even like, they haven't even been here for 5 minutes. They're not even like done getting their stuff out of their cars. And a huge redwood branch falls, takes out part of our fence, totally blocks the driveway. I mean, it's mayhem. I hear it happen, and I kind of, in slow mo, I'm kind of like, what's that weird sound? And I look out my window, and I'm like, oh God. I mean, just kill me, just shoot me. Like, I don't want to.
Were you in your house when it happened?
I was in the house, but I had a direct view because I could
Yeah.
look down, just one of my windows. And so, so I go out there, and it was loud, so they're kind of like, oh my gosh. And this happened the last time we were here, where I'm like, what are the chances? Like, it's just, this seems, is it unsafe? Should we have like an arborist come out like for an emergency? I'm like, you have no idea what kind of, like trimming trees for a day is not just like, oh, a little trim here and there. It's like a huge wood chopping, extravaganza.
Like you would have been hurt if it fell on you.
Oh, somebody would have died.
Really?
Somebody.
It was that
Oh,
big
yeah.
of a wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Redwood branches, because they're so high up,
Yeah.
you kind of look at the trunk and you go, oh, the trunk's huge, but like the branches aren't really that big. They're big.
Wow.
They're really big. They're just like 100 feet above you. So when they come down, not only are they big, but velocity, physics. Yeah, it was bad news. Anyway, we got the whole thing cleaned out to the point where people can come and go in their cars in the driveway, and all has been well since. But Heather, it was stressful.
Yeah.
And these are the times where, I will, it's, it's like, it's that mode of, I was talking to the DTNS crew about this on our show earlier today, that, when something goes wrong and you just kind of go like, okay, I'm going to freak out about this, but I'm going to freak out later.
Yeah,
right
totally.
now, we're
Gotta
going to
solve
problem
it.
solve. Yeah. We're gonna get it solved, and then I can like go cry quietly in the corner, And that was exactly it, because I needed to just sort of like, okay, here's what we're doing. Everybody's okay. We are good. Welcome to the property. Hope you have a lovely stay. And then I like went back into my house. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to make some spaghetti.
I need a gluten gut bomb stat.
I need a gut bomb. I just need to like just chill out. So yeah, it's been a week.
So it's kind of made you wonder about just doing this in general. It's just it's like when there's days like that I have too, because a lot of days I don't even have to do anything with the Airbnbs. It's pretty much well oiled, but then yeah, you have these doozy days that just make you hate it, and you rethink the whole thing. Like, why am I doing this? And I can't do this anymore. This is driving me crazy, And I mean, I would be stressed too if a branch fell really close to. I mean, gosh. That could have been a real liability.
It's not even really, of course, I care about the safety of anybody who's ever here, but it's mine as well.
Well, absolutely.
I mean, how many times do I walk up and down the driveway, with Otis the dog, like 5 times a day? I mean, if the timing was slightly different, it would have been a very different story. And I don't, there's no real solution. I mean, yeah, we're going to have some tree trimmers come out and, make sure that there's not anything that seems catastrophic that's about to happen, to be a little bit more proactive. But it's just, I don't know. I think there are certain people that thrive on this kind of problem solving. And I think that not only am I just sort of okay at it, but I also, I enjoy like my own career. And that's not what this is.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to put more effort into the stuff that I feel very passionate about.
Sure.
And my passion is not paper towels. You know, and it's okay if it's yours. It's just not mine. So, you know, you get to, this impasse sometimes where it's like, well, okay, what's the solution? Well, there are obviously solutions.
Well,
you know?
but do you have to like supply, I mean, doesn't the housekeeper put paper towels in these places, or do you have to deal with that?
Well, I have to buy them.
So you're the one.
She's not going to materialize them.
I think that's the thing. You're doing a lot more than I'm doing. I have somebody that does some of that stuff. I wonder if there's like, I don't know, you need like an assistant or something to take on some of that work. Well,
yeah. Well, I don't want to, again, you know, I feel like it can turn into like a bitch session pretty quick. And I don't want to do that because I actually, you know, I really like where I live for a lot of reasons, but just been one of them weeks. And part of it was because somebody accused me of stealing a yerba mate last Friday at a convenience store that I'll never go to again. Thank you very much.
I'm trying to think like how, I don't know if I can one up you with this story, but I did mention it in the cold open, but real quick, I did lock myself into a room at like 4 a.m. this morning, wearing a t-shirt and underwear, and, you know, still dark out, because my cat was meowing at my door, and he normally doesn't do that early. And so I went downstairs really bleary eyed. I was like in a deep sleep. I think I still had an earplug in my ear and my face mask on my head. And I went downstairs and I was like, I'm just going to feed you. Just shut up. And so I got the can of food and I went into the sunroom. It was a place that I could like put him in so that we could sleep for another hour. And so I went in there, and no shoes, no slippers, very cold floor. And I go into the sunroom and I closed the door so he wouldn't run out, and I locked myself in. And I couldn't believe it. And I was so sleepy. I was like, what did I just do?
My gosh. I know that feeling where you're like, no.
Yeah, I was like, no. And the thing is, I could have gone outside because there's a door that goes to the outside, but it was still dark out. And I'm in my t-shirt and underwear, no shoes. And even if I went out, I'd have to like ring the doorbell, which I guess I could have done as a last ditch if Elijah didn't hear me banging and screaming his name. Anyway, that's how my day started. So yeah, I mean, I think being accused of stealing might be a little bit worse, but
yeah. I'm trying to think of when is the last time that I actually, okay, very quick story, and it's not meant to one up you, but maybe it'll make you feel better about locking yourself into your sunroom or wherever it was in your house, which I've never been to. So I'm just trying to imagine, like, I don't even know the layout really of the house.
You have
like,
to come up.
What room are you in? You're like, help!
Yeah.
Stuck in the house. So this is a good one. So like years ago when I lived in LA, this is like 5 years ago, it was New Year's Eve, and I went to a party at my friend's house. And they lived, you know, like I had to take an Uber. They weren't within walking distance. While I'm in the Uber, I'm kind of rifling through my purse or whatever. My keys fall out of the purse. And I leave them in the Uber. So, but I don't think about it because then I go to this party, you know, and I'm hanging out for however many hours, you know, much time goes by. And, you know, I get an Uber home at, you know, eventually. It was pretty late.
You're probably pretty tired at that point.
Pretty tired, yeah. And I, you know, as we're getting close to my house, you know, I'm kind of looking at my purse and I'm like, where are my keys? Where are my keys? And I'm thinking, oh, I must have left them at my friend's house. But like, it was like, they weren't going to answer like they were asleep.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone, you know, I had left, everyone had gone to bed, you know, it was kind of, you know, the night was done. And I'm like, oh no, I can't get in my house. I can't get in my house. Like, what am I going to do? And this was like, I mean, we're talking like 3 a.m. type thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good. What am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to wake up one of my neighbors, you know, like banging on the, you know, like, well, I couldn't bang on their door, but I would have had to like buzz them from the main door outside. As luck would have it, because an angel saw me and shone down on me that fateful January 1st. My friend at the time lived a couple doors down from me, and I had a key to his place, and that key was hidden somewhere, on his property for me, for me to be able to come and go. So I was able to just like lay on his couch for a while I like tried to figure out how to get my keys back from the Uber driver, which I did eventually get. Like I tracked down the woman who had given me the ride. Sure enough, she had my keys. And we worked it out. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like,
Yeah, where you're like, all I want to do is get in bed, take a shower, and go to bed. Yeah, it's
yeah, where
funny.
you're like, what are my options right now? Like, I don't have a ladder. Even if I did, like, what am I gonna break my
Yeah.
own window and like climb it? Like, no,
No.
it's not happening.
Yeah, it's funny that feeling because on Saturday night I went to a party. Well, during the day I went to a party and it was a long day. It was one of those days where you're like, day to night, you're wearing a daytime dress, but like it goes into the night and you're kind of sweaty and you just like had a million meals and so by the time I was, kind of far away from
great.
yeah, it was really great.
Sweaty, you're
Yeah.
full.
It was great. It was great. Lots of pasta, lots of gluten. But I was like, by the end of the day, I was like so excited to go home and shower. I mean, I was like playing with dogs in the grass and kids and so, but it was kind of hard to get, in LA, it's hard to get home when you're across town. And it was Saturday night and I was really having trouble with Uber because they would drop me or like the guy couldn't find me. And so like all of these things kept happening where I was just like standing on the street corner and I could not get home. And I just like ordered like a Lux Lyft because it was the only thing that I could do. So, yeah, so I wanted to mention one quick thing and then we can wrap it up. But I don't you love it when you like, I often will read a book and I come across a word that I don't know. But I might know it because it's in context and I can kind of figure it out. But I love to like, look it up in the dictionary and start using it myself in sentences and that kind of thing. Well, it was funny. So there was a word that Elijah brought up at dinner like 6 months ago. This is why I remember it because it's a weird word. And I came across it again this morning in a newsletter. And I thought, okay, well, I guess this is a thing people are talking about now. But I had never heard of it before. And I mean, maybe some of you are like, oh man, that word's been around. I'm sure it's been around forever. But this is sort of the first time I'm, becoming familiar with it. And it's called liminality or liminal as an adjective. And it was in reference at the dinner table, he brought it up because my sister and I were talking about this weird Twilight Zone experience when you lose a loved one, how you feel sort of suspended in space and or whatever the metaphor you want to use. I mean, I think we used a different metaphor, but you get the idea. Well, he had just conducted an interview with this like art director in a movie, some weird B movie like Invaders from Mars or something like that. And he was talking about, he was just describing this dreamlike quality that spaces are, and but like there's the same but different, and there's this like weird feeling that you have when you're in a space or you're in a part of your life where you kind of feel like you're part of this thing, but there's also this thing. It's like you're in between worlds in a lot of ways. And I mean, it's essentially like this experience of being in between one thing and another thing. And it could be a lot of different things. And I think this is a very interesting word, and it has just become to mean a lot to me because of the last couple years. And it may be the same for y'all out there because it has been a wacky Twilight Zone of a couple years. So according to Wikipedia, just to like elaborate a little further on the meaning of liminality, in anthropology, it is the quality of ambiguity or disorientation that occurs in the middle stage of like a rite of passage, when participants no longer hold their pre-ritual status but have not yet begun the transition to this new status they will hold when the rite is complete. So it could be, like I mentioned earlier, it could be this feeling of like how the planet feels with this loved one, and now it feels like this other place, and I'm kind of in this in-between world until I can transfer to this new life, fully realizing that like this person's gone and like life is different. It's like same but different. It's this really weird concept, and I just wanted to share it with y'all. I don't know if you've heard of this word. Or
I
if you,
never have before.
yeah, it's super interesting.
New to me.
And I just,
I consider myself a bit of a wordsmith, but there's always words that I come across for the first time.
me too. And I wanted to talk about it in the context of like a movie that I saw, 6 months ago when Elijah brought it up. But then I was like, I don't know. Like I just didn't, I was going to bring it up on the show. But then today when I came across it again, I was kind of like, yeah, I want to talk about it because it is a really interesting feeling that I have felt, and I didn't have a word for it, but now I do. Feeling in this, transitional phase of life, or whatever it is. But I'd like to know from you guys if you have ever felt, or maybe right now you feel like you're in a liminal space. Let us know. Email us at hi at have such a good. Email us at
raising
hi
my
at have such a
hand,
good day.com.
Heather.
You're what?
Definitely in a liminality over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Hello,
Yep.
right here.
Yep.
Liminal
Liminal lane
space.
over there. Liminal lane.
Liminal lane. Yep, that's my new nick. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, we always want to hear from you. One of the ways that we love hearing from you is through our Discord if you are a patron, and you can find out more about being a patron if you're not already at patreon.com/have such a good day. You can, if you can part with $5 or anything else per month, $5 or more per month. You can join our Discord. It's certainly not mandatory, but we'd love to have you. We've got a good crew in there, and everybody else who listens, on any sort of free version of the show, we'll always offer that. So, totally cool. We just, we are a bootstrapped, homegrown operation over here. So
Exactement.
yeah, any support that we can get that is direct support is
Helps
helpful
immensely.
to us, and we thank you in advance. We also have a new patron, and that patron's name is Donnie Don. Donnie Don, we see you.
Donnie Don. I love that name.
Me too. We're so glad to have you. So thanks so much for being part of the crew.
Yeah, and we did get an email from a Ron. He said, thank you for talking about The Rehearsal, which is that show I was talking about last episode, that wacky comedy show on HBO. He said he wasn't aware of it despite having HBO in his cable package. You guys are such a great source of info. Cheers,
Aw,
Ron,
thanks, Ron.
a guy in Edmonton, Alberta. So
I've
hi
got
up
a few
there.
friends. Yeah.
Hey up there.
yes.
Way up there.
How's it going on?
Are you in a
How's it hanging
liminal
in
space
Edmonton?
in Alberta, Canada?
Are you experiencing liminality? If so, we'd like an update, Ron. Since you talked about The Rehearsal, Heather, quite a few of not quite a few, a handful of my friends have all watched the show. I think the first season is over now, and
Yeah.
for some reason, I don't know. I have to go back to it.
Yeah.
I just wasn't in the right headspace.
You have to
But
be
I
in the
like
right headspace.
weird. Yeah, I like weird stuff like that.
You
I mean,
do.
I'm all about House of the Dragon right now. Like, I mean, it's all Game of Thrones for me.
Yeah.
Like for the next however many weeks. That's all I think about. Like, I'm even like, I'm getting my hair dyed in a couple of weeks. Like, do I go full Targaryen? What are we doing? Which I have in
Well,
the
I'm
past. It
surprised
actually
it
didn't
took
look that
you.
good on me.
It took you till the end of the show to bring this up.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't want this to be, some sort of a dragon show. But we did get another email from Henry in Michigan, who's written us before. Thank you, Henry. Please keep writing.
Hey, Henry.
Who said, you mentioned a cat feeding issue. This was in the last show because I was talking about Ralphie. I've been having some issues with him in the morning. Henry says, we have an auto feeder on at night, on a nightstand in our family room that has dry cat food. The cats eat it when they're hungry. The dogs can't get to it to bother the cats.
Henry, I wanted to say something about this because this is something that my boyfriend and I are always dealing with. Is like, we feed the cats. If we don't put the bowls up high, the dog will eat the scraps. We don't want the dog to eat the scraps. It kind of makes him sick. And I've tried all kinds of things. Yes, put it up high. That totally makes sense. But I feel like my cats are so spoiled that they'll be like, dry food? I want the wet food. I want the real deal. And they'll cry and moan until I get up and feed them. I will try. I like the idea of like on the nightstand, in a place maybe that is new and exciting for them. I will try this and I will report back because I was woken up this morning, as I mentioned, and I'm not cool with that. And I know Sarah's been having some trouble with Ralphie waking her up too. And sleep is very important. So thank you so much for writing in, and I will
Yeah.
report back.
Please do. Yeah, Henry, you're not the first person who has suggested, what about an auto feeder? Or even just something where it's like, I don't know, you press a button, you get a treat
Yeah.
type thing. Like some sort of, it's not really because they're hungry, it's because they want stimulation and they feel like they're on a schedule. And I have been at my wit's end a little bit with my little gremlin cat, and it's
I thought he was a
you know
Muppet.
well, he is a Muppet, but he's a Muppet gremlin. He's like a bad Muppet.
A bad Muppet.
He's a naughty little Muppet. But I've experimented with like feeding him later so that he would, sleep. He doesn't have a problem sleeping throughout the night. Once he eats dinner, he's like, bye, see you later. I'll bug you in 12 hours.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to matter what time that last feeding is. It's when the sun comes up in the morning.
Totally.
He's like, do it, like no matter what I do, it should be like,
Do it.
stop. Yeah, he's like, get up
They're
and
such
feed me.
jerks, those pets of ours, but you gotta love them. Anyway, Sarah, it's so great to see you and talk.
to see you too,
I never feel
Heather.
like we talk about all the things. I mean, there's just so much more to unpack. But we'll have
There
to just
is.
do more of that next week.
We'll just have to do that in episode 162
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
week. Yeah, so just a reminder, if you're just joining us, which would be weird, but maybe you are. This is episode 161, palindrome episode.
Woo, woo.
It's good juju for all of us. Okay, so if you're having a bad day, you have such a good day.
If
you
you're in
turn
a
that frown
liminal
right
space.
upside down. Yeah. Liminality for all.
Learn something new every day. Liminality for all.
Well, until we meet again, which will be a week from today, I will remain Sarah.
And I will remain Heather. Have such a good day. Bye.